And we'll let a couple more filter in. All right.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Jenny Vanna, and I'm the Deputy of Communications and Engagement at CMAP. Welcome to our meeting of the Community Advisory Committee, kind of 2.0. We're refreshing this committee and kind of bringing it back to life. So welcome, and thank you for being here. We will start with introductions, and I will hand it over to Jane, and you can toss it to someone else.
Good morning, Jane Grover. I work closely with Jenny on all things communications and engagement. I've been at the agency about 10 years and with Sema ran the previous iteration of this Community Advisory Committee. So glad to have you with us. Sema?
Yeah, hi everybody. Good morning. My name is Sema Abulhab. I'm also on the engagement team with Jane. I'm a senior on the engagement team, been at CMAP for about 4 years, and I support engagement all across the agency, making sure folks have what they need to go out and do engagement with communities. So yeah, excited about the relaunch of this group. And I will pass it to Noah.
Morning, everyone. My name is Noah Harris. I'm a policy analyst here at CMAP, mostly working on transportation policy and planning. Been at the agency about 4 years as well. Excited to be here today.
Excellent. So now we will ask members to introduce yourself and share something about the organization you represent and including the community you serve. So I will start and ask Robert to introduce himself.
I'm Robert Keating. I'm with Evanston Transit Alliance. I'm also a MUP right now at UIC. Some of the work that Evanston Transit Alliance is doing in our community is the Chicago Avenue Multimodal Corridor is a big project that we've been supporting, which is moving forward in the next few years, as well as the 2026 bike plan update, which is something that Evanston is working on, and trying to get an infill station on the Yellow Line in South Evanston. Those are probably our three big initiatives that we've been working on over the past couple of years. Thank you.
Excellent. John, would you introduce
Yes,
yourself and tell us a little
yeah,
bit about your organization?
yeah, I think I'd be delighted. So, in January of 2020, I began to imagine that there was this abandoned rail embankment that should be put to better use. It had been abandoned by the city since 1957, and I started the story in January 2020 because this initiative is a pandemic baby. So, as
Mm.
myself and others found themselves sheltered at home, we began to talk about the possibilities. We incorporated in September of 2020, and over the past almost 6 years now, we've been working to advocate uh, the repurposing of the abandoned Kenwood L line or the former Stockyard line in Chicago to a linear park, to a walking, running, and biking trail. With that being said, we didn't know what the hell we were doing. We're just a bunch of folks who came together at the kitchen table, basically, over Zoom, right? Because we were all sheltered in. With that being said, certainly I've joined other collaboratives, learned a lot about the process, Rails to Trail developments. I'm just delighted to be part of the CMAP group. Um, and just to give you just a quick update, so the next person can introduce themselves. Um, the city committed 5 million to activate the project. And activation means the framework plan, which is taking place right now. Phase one and phase two construction will follow. About 80% of the embankment is owned by the Cook County Land Bank, and the county agreed to pay for an environmental study. And any rail bed where locomotives have ran, it's well documented that those rail beds are contaminated. And so, we had that evidence in a 2012, 2013 EPA study. But, and perhaps many of you know more about this than I do, everything's heavily regulated when it comes to remediation. And you have to get a new letter from the state Illinois EPA. So with that being said, that study is taking place right now, the environmental study. We look to have it, they think, by the end of the summer. And at such time, we'll begin to search. And I shouldn't say wait till then. We're going to start searching now for approximately the 10 to 12 million that we need to actually do the remediation. And then we anticipate developing the embankment in phases, as I'm learning. And so you don't have a trail until you have bridges. But if we can get all the local support done, we think by 2029 we'll be in a good position to go after federal dollars to put all the bridges back and thus have a trail. Thanks for allowing me a little extra time. As you see, you have to give me a time limit. I'll keep going.
We're glad you did. That's very inspiring to see, what from a conversation at a kitchen table over Zoom, how far you've come. So congratulations on that.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Okay, we'll ask Richard to introduce himself.
Good morning, everybody. How is everybody doing today? Richard Lawrence. I'm here representing Chicago State University as the community. I am the community engagement manager. Just a few updates about what we have going on. We are knee deep in our transportation plans with to open up our Metro stop here at 95th and Cottage Grove. So we are in the midst of that. That is developing. We are also looking to have an official stop, advocating for an official stop, our name to be placed at the CTA red line stop for, people to know that, Chicago State is at that stop. And then we also got football. So first D1 football team in the city of Chicago since the 1930s. So look forward to that happening this upcoming fall.
Excellent. Thank you, Richard. Beth, can you introduce yourself, please?
Yes. Yes. Hello. My name is Beth Dybala. I'm with the Calumet Area Industrial Commission. We've been around since 1967. Our mission is to promote industrial retention and expansion in the greater Calumet area, which includes the far south side, the Chicago Southland area, including we've been working in southern Cook County as well as Will County and parts of Kankakee County and Northwest Indiana. And, in the last 10 years, we've been especially addressing a great need for manufacturers, skilled labor. And to do that, we've been working with such companies as Goshen. It's a new electrical battery in Kankakee County, Montino, Illinois, to help create a bridge program to staff its new plant. We are also working on a number of issues regarding the future about participating in the Calumet area land use update. The city of Chicago looking for a new update involving our industrial quarters in the city of Chicago.
Great. Thank you for being here, Beth.
Thank you for inviting me.
So moving along, Abby, can you introduce yourself?
Sure. Good morning, everyone. My name is Abby Beck. I'm representing the Conservation Foundation. We're a land and water organization headquartered in Naperville and serving the Collier counties. And then I'm also on Batavia's City Council, my hometown of Batavia. So really excited to be here and participate. Thanks.
Thank you for being here. Anna Marie, can you introduce yourself, please?
Yes. Hi, everybody. My name is Anna Marie Platt Miller. I know that's a mouthful, so feel free to call me AM/PM or AMPAM, as I am involved day and night in my community. I am a little bit about myself. I spent half of my life growing up in the inner city of Chicago, Logan Square, Humboldt Park neighborhood, and the other half of my life I spent in Harvard, Illinois. If you're not familiar with Harvard, it lies about 20 miles south of the Wisconsin border on the Northwest Metro train line. I'm representing the city of Harvard, and I'd like to think McHenry County as a whole. I am an alderman. I've been an alderman for a whole year in Harvard, Illinois. But you know what they say, when you're green, you grow. When you're ripe, you rot. So I have a lot to learn. A little bit about me personally, I wear a lot of different hats, and I love that. I work in real estate over the border in vacation rental acquisition for a company called Geneva Lakes Vacations. So I'm very involved in tourism and that type of thing up in southern Wisconsin. And then being an alderman in Illinois, I also work part-time at a brewery in Woodstock, Illinois. And this week, my big claim to fame is I will help start the big wheel races for Milk Days, which is the longest running festival in Northern Illinois. We are celebrating our 85th year in Harvard.
Very cool. I'll have to try to make it up there one of these days. I have been to Harvard, and yeah, lovely community, but it's far north. That's great. And it looks like we have, Gina Speckman.
Hi, Gina.
Oh, we can't hear you, Gina.
Sorry, guys. I just got out of a meeting. I really apologize.
No worries.
Welcome.
Can you introduce yourself and the organization you're from and the part of the region
Sure.
you're representing?
Sure. My name is Gina Speckman. I'm Executive Director of Chicago's North Shore Convention and Visitors Bureau. I'm one of 12 Convention and Visitors Bureaus that includes the City of Chicago's Bureau that are in the metropolitan Chicago area. So I'm kind of representing me and the 12 Convention and Visitors Bureaus that are in the tourism space.
Great. And when I worked up at Lake County for a long time, I worked closely with Maureen Reedy. And so
She retired.
Did she really? I did not know that.
Yes.
Good to know. She deserves it. That's awesome. We'll
Yes.
have to see. Yeah. Well, we can talk later. I want to know who's in that position now.
Well, John McGuire that worked
Yeah.
for her. He's
Yeah.
the CEO now.
Okay, great. Yeah, he was at the fairgrounds for a long time. Anyway,
Yes.
we move on. It looks like we have another CMAPper online. Julie, can you introduce yourself?
Sure. Good morning, everybody. Sorry, my camera's not working so great this morning, but my name is Julie Reschke. I'm a senior policy analyst here at CMAP. I am working on the regional transportation plan alongside NOAA, so I'm just here to listen in on the conversation today and provide support however is helpful.
Thanks, Julie. I'll refer to my team. Did I miss anybody before we move on?
I think we're all there.
Okay, great. Well, thank you all again for being here. We really do appreciate. We know time is short. Everybody's very busy, and so we appreciate your commitment and to serve on this committee. We have a wide range of experience, geographic coverage, and subject matter expertise, and we know you will bring a lot of value as we again bring this committee to life. And so 2 members were unable to attend today at the last minute. Amy Kaufman from the Community Partners for Affordable Housing in Lake County and Kristen Goshling, am I saying that right, Jade? From the Parents Allied with Children and Teachers for Tomorrow, an accessibility advocacy organization in Chicago and Oak Park. We also have good prospects for 3 more organizations to add to this committee to round out its membership. So we can now move on to the new business portion of the agenda and agency introductions, and I will hand it over to Jane.
Thanks, Jenny. And as Jenny said, this Community Advisory Committee is a successor to an original Citizen Advisory Committee, and we're just so glad you're part of the refresh of this committee. We really hopefully mostly want to learn from you about how CMAP's regional policies and plans affect the communities and constituencies you serve. And we hope we can also, at the same time, offer resources that might be of value to you as you serve your constituencies. More about that later. As a government entity, as I kind of foreshadowed in my email to you last week, we have to kind of abide by a lot of rules as a government agency, and our committees do too. We're beholden to state laws for an Open Meetings Act and the Freedom of Information Act. We will be posting the video of this meeting on our YouTube channel. We'll probably also be posting meeting notes on this public agenda management system. So look for that. It might be also a resource for you for these meetings. And given the distance that most of you would travel to get to our meetings, we kind of thought that the best way to at least conduct most of these meetings would be in these workshop hybrid meetings or on Zoom. We will need to do one in-person meeting per year, the business meeting of this committee, and we would need an in-person quorum for that, which would mean we would need a majority of the committee members to meet in person in our offices. The good thing about that is that our offices are in the old post office, Chicago's historic old post office building, that massive building that straddles the Eisenhower Expressway. And south, it's got this beautiful rooftop garden, 4 football fields of real estate on our roof. So when we do have this in-person business meeting, we hope to include a tour of our building, a little bit of the history, and of course, a walk on our rooftop. As you will hear today, CMAP, as a transportation funding agency, operates in a world of jargon and acronyms. So we will provide at some point a resource guide to you that will decode some of that language that we use. And please, all the way through, please stop us if there's something that you don't understand, a phrase or a term, and we are happy to explain. We'll provide a resource guide to you that will also include, in addition to jargon and acronyms, list of the members, some CMAP history, and probably some maps, because that's also the business of this agency, isn't it? And you tell us what you think would be useful to have at your fingertips as you participate in this committee. Please stop us along the way if you have any questions. And we've got just a 10-minute kind of presentation discussion on what CMAP is, so you kind of understand the skeleton of this agency, and we will fill it in as the committee meets over the course of the next few years. So Sema Abulhab has got the next part. Thanks, Sema.
Thank you, Jane. So yes, hi everyone, this is Sema again. So I'm going to talk a little bit broadly about the region, the agency, why we exist, what we do, all those kinds of things. So this is a map of our region. We are 8.6 million people, 284 municipalities, 7 counties, and over 4,000 square miles. And so this is the region that CMAP serves, Northeastern Illinois. We are the 3rd largest region in the country after New York and LA. And so there's a lot here and a lot to coordinate around, specifically our infrastructure. So we have over 30,000 miles of roads, over 3,600 bridges, 1,800 miles of active rail lines, over 1,500 rail crossings, and 386 train stations. So we have a lot of infrastructure that we need to be thinking about and coordinating around, and so that's what we do as an agency. So I'll share a little bit about some of our requirements and kind of the two sides of who we are. And hopefully you can see that. Okay. So yes, so we are what's called the Metropolitan Planning Organization for this region, and that is a federally designated task that we have. So we're federally required to exist. It means that we manage transportation planning processes. So I won't talk in too much detail about those here because Noah's going to be talking about one of those processes, one of those plans in a moment. But that's kind of the big federal requirement that we have. And then about 20 years ago, the state decided that we need to coordinate land use and transportation, that these things depend on each other. And so we need to be thinking about these things in a holistic way. And so we are also thinking about land use in coordination with that transportation. Our mission. So our mission is to serve the people of the region, all those 8.6 million people, 284 municipalities, by driving innovation, fostering shared action, and advancing toward a common vision. So it is very broad, and it is that way by nature. We are thinking very broadly about the entire region and our goals for the region. And our main topic areas are transportation, like I mentioned. We also work on climate, and we work on regional economy. So those are our big buckets under which our work falls. So what do we do? I kind of alluded to some of these things already. So we collaborate and convene. A lot of the challenges that we have in the region don't recognize municipal boundaries, right? So we need to come together. We need to think about these things together, think about our resources together. And so we are very much a convener and collaborator who bring folks together, just like this group, to think about these topics. We also deliver data, so we are a big data resource for partners across the agency, and hopefully some of those data resources will be valuable to you as well. We prioritize and program transportation funds, so I'll show a diagram in a moment of how money kind of comes through our agency and gets allocated to different types of projects and comes through to your communities. And we also plan regionally and locally. So we think, like I said, big picture regionally, but we also work locally with our partners and with communities. Data. So we are, like I said, a big data resource for partners across the region. We have a data hub that, I would encourage you to explore. We have our community data snapshots. Maybe Jane will put that link in the chat, but that has data on a bunch of different topic areas for every municipality, every county, and for the region. That can be helpful for decision making for partners across the region. So I would definitely encourage you to check out our data hub. And then, like I said, one of our core functions is programming federal transportation dollars throughout the region. So this diagram just shows kind of how that money comes through. So it comes from the federal government through to the state, so to IDOT, the Illinois Department of Transportation. Then that comes to us. And then through our transportation programming efforts, it goes through all of these different program areas and comes through down to the local level. So just a diagram to kind of show that. And then we also do, like I said, big picture, regional, comprehensive long range planning. So our current plan is called ON to 2050 that you may have heard of or be familiar with. The next plans include the Century Plan, and that is kind of our big visioning North Star kind of planning process and effort. And that is in the solar system of CMAP plans. That one kind of is at the sun in the center. And then around that, we have those specific focuses, like I mentioned, kind of pertaining to our topic areas. So we have the Comprehensive Climate Action Plan, and we have the Regional Transportation Plan, which I will pause for a moment in case anybody has any questions, comments, in case my colleagues want to add anything. But then Noah's going to be diving into the Regional Transportation Plan in particular. So we'll talk more about that.
Any questions, comments so far? Okay.
And I see Jane shared the community data snapshot, so thanks for doing that.
So then we'll move on to the Regional Transportation Plan.
Perfect.
So as you can see, one of CMAP's key functions is transportation infrastructure, how and where to invest in the region's roads, rails, bridges, bike and pedestrian paths, and public transportation, public transit. NOAA has been deeply involved in a project that CMAP undertakes every 4 years, the development of the Regional Transportation Plan, the RTP. This is a kind of a core function of CMAP, both as an MPO and a regional planning agency, as some explained. And now's good timing for us to bring this to you so that we can, I hope, get some feedback from you over the next couple of months as it's open for public comment. Noah.
Hey everyone. Yeah, thanks Jane for the intro. So my name is Noah Harris. I'm a policy analyst here at CMAP. I've served as the deputy project manager on the Regional Transportation Plan, which means I've been working on this plan since we started over 2 years ago now. This plan has been a major agency-wide effort, and I'm excited to be here today to give you an overview of the plan. So I'm going to cover 3 things over the course of the presentation. I'll start with a quick overview of what the RTP is, and then I'll step through the plan's goals, objectives, and strategies, and I'll close with a description of what's included in the draft plan itself. So as Sema referred to a couple of minutes ago here, CMAP as the federally designated metropolitan planning organization for Northeastern Illinois. One of our core responsibilities in this role is to develop a long-range regional transportation plan every 4 years. So this 2026 regional transportation plan fulfills that core requirement. It's also one of the key plans that CMAP is developing within that larger family of plans framework that Sema showed with that graphic with the orbiting plans. And per federal requirements, this transportation plan must be completed by October of this year. The ultimate purpose of the RTP is to outline a transportation vision that aligns with broader regional goals and reflects the diverse needs and aspirations of communities from across the region. So the RTP development process has been organized around three straightforward questions. So first, what transportation system do we want as a region? Next, what are the challenges and opportunities to get there? And finally, how do we actually achieve that transportation system that we want? So these three questions here have guided now multiple years of analysis and engagement and conversations with communities from throughout the region. So this diagram here, it's a bit of a breakdown. It shows how those three questions have translated it into the actual work of building and developing the plan. Each of the phases here, so setting the goals, understanding conditions, analyzing data and future needs, identifying investments, all of these pieces, they feed into the next. And we're now into that final phase of having developed the draft plan. It's now complete, and we're preparing to release the draft plan for public comment this coming summer. And I'll come back to that public comment period at the end of the presentation here. So now I'm going to step through an overview of the plan's goals, objectives, and strategies, and hopefully these should give you a sense for what this large, multifaceted regional transportation plan is seeking to achieve for the region. So first, the structure of the RTP. The RTP itself is guided by a structure of goals, objectives, and strategies. This is a performance-based framework, which means that the goals are broad. They're long-term and aspirational, and they define the desired end result at a quite high level. And then we have objectives. They add a layer of specificity, and these are the items that can be measured and tracked as we work on progressing the plan. And then the strategies themselves describe how the region will achieve those objectives. Over the last year plus now, CMAP has collaborated with transportation agencies, local communities, advocacy organizations, professional associations, and more to identify and refine these transportation goals, objectives, and strategies. So you're seeing on the screen here the five broad goal areas that the RTP has identified. They span mobility, safety, the environment, economy, and fiscal excellence. They ask, how do we as a region strengthen connections between people and places? How do we better prioritize safety and public health? How do we reduce pollution and improve resilience to environmental impacts? How do we support economic prosperity and inclusive growth? And finally, how can we more strategically govern, fund, and preserve our great transportation system? So how were those goals, objectives, and strategies developed? I hinted at this earlier, but CMAP, we don't just make these up on our own. We consult. Engagement has been woven into every phase of the process, including numerous public outreach activities across every county in the region, multiple rounds of meetings with partner agencies, community groups, and other organizations. We have dedicated resource groups who are focused on contributing to specific components of the large plan, a comprehensive review by staff of the already adopted plans at the state, regional, and local levels in the region, and more. And while the region's huge, like Simon was saying, we have 7 counties, 284 municipalities, 8.6 million residents, and growing. We can't talk to everyone, of course, but we've made a sincere effort to connect with various communities across the full region. And with that in mind, on the coming slides, I'll share those objectives that support each of the goal areas and preview some of the many strategies that are supporting those objectives. So first, to strengthen connections between people and places, objectives focus on managing congestion and improving transportation system reliability, improving multimodal travel options, and achieving universal accessibility. Because this goal area is generally focused on improving overall mobility, the strategies are multifaceted. They include proactive asset management to prevent unexpected slowdowns from incidents like signal outages and pavement failures, which of course we're all familiar with, but also developing a more integrated regional transit system with more frequent regional rail service and faster, more reliable bus service, improved connectivity of sidewalks and bike lanes, and investments that make our sidewalks and transit stops accessible for people with disabilities. Together, these strategies are intended to build on the region's transportation strengths by making trips more reliable, multimodal, and accessible. Next, we have safety and public health. So prioritizing safety and public health includes objectives to, of course, reduce crashes, manage speeding, and prioritize safety investments where risk and harm are greatest. Safety has really emerged as a top priority for the region through the engagement process. Strategies focus on reducing people's exposure to risks that could result in serious and fatal crashes, setting speed limits that are appropriate to local context, and integrating transportation tools and design approaches that calm traffic flow. And critically, the strategies emphasize prioritizing safety investments where we see disproportionate risk and harm. So that means protected bike lanes and pedestrian infrastructure, systemic improvements at dangerous intersections and railroad crossings, and generally data-informed decision-making. Together, these strategies have the potential to make Northeastern Illinois' transportation system more safe and comfortable for a wide variety of road users, saving lives in the process. To reduce pollution and improve resilience, objectives focus on reducing emissions, preparing infrastructure for increasingly extreme weather, and protecting the region's natural resources. So on reducing emissions and improving public health, strategies focus on electrifying vehicles and shifting more trips from driving to lower emissions options like transit, walking, biking, and rolling. To make the transportation system more resilient to extreme weather events like flooding and higher temperatures, which many of you are already familiar with, the strategies focus on green infrastructure like bioswales and permeable pavement, tree canopy, and bus shelters that protect riders from extreme heat, and more. And lastly, we have strategies that recognize the transportation system's role in protecting our environment by limiting expansion into natural areas and reducing runoff that degrades water quality. With the transportation sector being one of the top contributor of regional emissions, these strategies can both clean up the transportation system while making Northeastern Illinois more resilient to those effects of climate change that we're seeing. So transportation is also the backbone of our regional economy. Our economy relies on the efficient movement of both people and goods. Objectives here include leveraging the transportation system to expand easy, affordable access to key destinations, promoting the regional freight network, and ultimately strengthening the region's role as an economic hub. Strategies include transit-oriented development and affordable multimodal travel options to foster vibrant local economies that connect residents with jobs, education, and a wide variety of essential amenities and services. Strategies promote the efficiency and reliability of freight in the region by reducing congestion, improving last mile goods delivery, and more. And finally, we have strong connections to airports and intercity bus and rail, which can support greater economic prosperity and further elevate Northeastern Illinois as truly a national and international transportation hub. Together, this diverse mix of strategies has the potential to grow economic prosperity for both residents and the broader regional economy. So this is that last of the 5 goal areas here. This final goal area identifies opportunities to improve regional coordination around critical transportation assets, revenues, and operations. Objectives include making progress on modernizing our aging infrastructure, getting our roads, bridges, bikeways, and transit into good working condition, while also maintaining and expanding revenue sources and enhancing government collaboration. So to address these significant needs, strategies include streamlined project delivery and data-driven investment decisions focused on system preservation. And additionally, strategies emphasize the need to secure diverse new revenues that are durable, that grow with the economy, and that align with changes in travel behavior. So as Northeastern Illinois navigates these complex spaces, the success of these strategies in particular depends on regional collaboration across transportation agencies, local governments, and communities. Okay, so yeah, that's the overview of the goals, objectives, and strategies. And having walked through those, let me give you a better sense for what's in the draft plan itself. So the plan opens with an honest acknowledgement of what Northeastern Illinois has built. The transportation system that connects your communities didn't happen by accident. We have the 3,900 miles of freight rail, the 34,000 plus miles of public roads, 3,600 bridges, 380 plus train stations, all the amazing infrastructure that we have. This system was built generation by generation by communities who chose to invest in that infrastructure that outlasted them. And that's the inheritance that our communities are working with today. So the plan's central argument is that this generation has the same responsibility to make decisions now that serve not just today's residents, but the ones that come next. The draft plan is honest about the challenges standing between where we are today and where we want to be in the future. And I signaled many of these challenges in that last segment of the presentation. Most of our expressways are aging and they've exceeded their functional design life. Many of our bridges and interchanges that you use every day are aging faster than current funding can address. Traffic deaths in the region peaked at more than 700 in 2021. That number is too high, and the plan calls for a regional approach to bringing it down. Flooding and extreme weather are damaging roads and infrastructure at increasing rates and high costs. And the funding picture is challenging. Construction costs have outpaced transportation revenue for decades now, and the region faces a significant gap between what is needed to maintain our system and what current funding streams can deliver. So these, of course, are not abstract statistics. They show up in your communities and as you move throughout the region every day. So to address those many lights, what are called priority investments. So as CMAP, and Simon was kind of referring to this earlier, we don't build the infrastructure ourselves, but the plan is just meant to provide that long-term vision for our transportation system as a whole. And as such, the plan is charged with identifying and prioritizing key investments. So this is one of the core responsibilities of the plan here. These 15 projects that you see on the screen are those investments where the region's resources and ambitions are best aligned to deliver real lasting change in support of those plan goals. And you may even be familiar with some of these projects in your own communities. And while these are the region's kind of highest profile commitments, the plan also includes a much longer list of regional capital projects. So these are major regional infrastructure projects on our highways and expressways and transit lines that cross municipal boundaries and serve regional travel as a whole. Together, all of these projects were evaluated and selected through a rigorous evaluation process, checking for consistency with and alignment with the regional goals and the plan goals. So we're building this grand plan, right, that includes all these goals and objectives and strategies and investments. But of course, we have limited funds to make a plan like this happen. The plan is also charged with it's charged with ensuring that our revenues, our reasonably expected revenues looking into the future, will be enough to both maintain our existing transportation system and to pursue those new key priority investments. And this is where you can really start to get a sense for the scale of our transportation system needs and investments that we anticipate together representing $573 billion of balanced revenues and expenditures. So a significant plan for the transportation system. The plan frames the region's challenges through a core metaphor here, the two sides of the scale. On one side are the region's obligations. We have our aging infrastructure, deferred maintenance, and those major investment needs. On the other side are the revenues and the strategies that can reduce what the region owes over time. So, of course, that's not just more funding, but smarter decisions, using technology to get more out of our existing roads, managing travel demand before it becomes congestion, and making land use decisions that concentrate growth where the infrastructure can handle it. So the plan's core argument is that you can't solve all of these challenges with revenues alone, with efficiency alone. We have to balance the scale and make sure we're making smart decisions with our resources. The plan closes with a simple statement that a plan is a promise. It commits the region to protecting what works, repairing what's failing, and unlocking the potential of a system that, when it's working well, is genuinely a world-class transportation system. But we all know that a plan on paper only becomes real through implementation. That work happens project by project, decision by decision, in partnership with communities, organizations like yours here today. So the development of this RTP, where we're at now, this is a milestone, but it's just the beginning of the work. It's not the end of it. And this is where the call to action comes into play, right? So we have our draft plan, which is anticipated to be available for public review and public comment starting June 12th, and that will last until July 31st. We'll also have a federally required public hearing, which is scheduled for August 6th at 3 p.m. At the CMAP office. And that'll also be accessible remotely. And this is where we really want to hear from you and from your communities. We really want you to participate, to review the plan, to give feedback during that formal public comment period. And the ultimate call to action, right, is to weigh in, to share this opportunity with your network so we can work towards a plan that represents the region's aspirations for our transportation system. Yeah, so with that, happy to pause and take any questions.
Thank you, Noah. That was great. Any questions from committee members? Comments, questions? Gina, did you? Yeah.
Yes. How does this tie into the RTA or soon to be NETA? Like, do they take your plan and they have to implement? Like, how do they tie into this?
Yeah, that's a great question. Thanks for asking. So obviously this is a time of transition, right? As the region works towards NETA. This represents a broad vision for transportation that includes both our roadways and transit. And so yeah, we're also kind of swimming in the same direction, and we would work with them to advance some of these key strategies and investments also aligned with their vision for the transit system. So yeah.
Okay, thank you.
So they work together is the best way to say it. Yeah. Any other questions, comments? John?
Yeah, yes. Noah, a pleasure meeting you again. So the project that I represent, the Bronzo Trail Task Force, one of the key components of it is it's going to provide people west of the Dan Ryan Expressway access to the Lakefront Bike Trail. And certainly if you go north from that point, you get to the downtown museum campus. And if you head south, certainly there's a museum Griffin Museum, excuse me, of Science and Industry, and the soon to open Obama Presidential Center. We're also literally adjacent to the Green Line, and this Green Line stopped right at 40th and Indiana. So there's just a huge transportation impact that this trail project, will make on the near south side and for Chicago and the region for that matter. And so my question to you is, how does a project become a priority project for the 2027 transportation plan, regional transportation?
Yeah, thanks for asking. So a couple initial thoughts. One thing we heard a lot through engagement with communities and transportation partners is the major regional need around those active transportation connections between major destinations and existing active transportation networks, right? So improving the ability to get, from transit to the destination or from an existing bike lane to the destination. And so that's represented in our throughout our plan, in the strategies throughout our plan. In terms of the project level, at least for our regional transportation plan, these are projects that typically pass, high cost and connectivity thresholds. These are the major regional infrastructure projects on our transit system and on our highway and expressway system. But we can connect after the meeting and think about, how to strategize around the project you're referring to here. But hopefully, broadly, the spirit of the project is represented in the plan and can trickle down into local implementation with a project like the one you're referring to.
Okay. No, I provided my contact information in the chat. If you share yours or shoot me an email,
sure.
I'll make certain to follow up with you.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments about the RTP? All right, as Jane said, we really would love your input into this, right? We'll be going out for public comment and we'll be engaging you through this committee setting. And so we'll stay in touch as it becomes available and really do encourage you to provide input because we value that and that will inform the final plan. So moving on, just a couple agency announcements. As Sema mentioned earlier, we have a big plan in the works, the Century Plan, which is our North Star and will be the regional vision for Northeastern Illinois and will help us to build a better, stronger future. We will, at our next committee meeting, do a deeper dive into the Century Plan and what that's all about. So we are developing that right now with a final approval targeted for next fall by the CMAP board and our MPO policy committee. And so this year and into next year, we've been doing robust engagement and collaborating and convening, as Emma said, is one of our core responsibilities. We've taken a kind of targeted approach to really reach stakeholders that we might not otherwise reach and get their voices represented in the plan. And we're doing that through these events called the Catalyst Series. And we've had one on climate action and new industrial land uses, water supply, housing, and we've gotten great feedback, and they've been very successful in engaging around these very important topics that are surfacing and emerging as our key regional priorities that will be represented in the Century Plan. And so we have one coming up, and we'd like to extend an invitation to you all to join us if you can. Tuesday, June 23rd. This one will be focused on the transportation infrastructure, and we will convene regional leaders and national experts for a future-focused conversation conversation on how the region can invest and innovate its transportation system for the next century. It'll take place from 11 to 2 in Joliet at the Joliet Area Historical Museum. We hope you can make it, and you can certainly grab the QR code or Jane can forward you the invitation and we can get you registered. So the discussion in Joliet will focus not only on the need for reinvestment in transportation infrastructure, but also on the importance of regional cooperation, new approaches, shared strategies that can help the region move beyond the status quo. Something that we are, hearing across these engagements is that communities can't do it alone. CMAP can't do it alone. So we have to work across jurisdictions, across boundaries, and work together to really move the needle and solve for these big challenges like water, housing, transportation. So at this event, speakers include Dr. Patricia Hendren, Executive Director of the Eastern Transportation Coalition, Adi Tomer, Senior Fellow at the Brookings Metropolitan Policy Program, and Heather Worthington, Principal at Urban 3. So again, we would love for you to join us and stay engaged around the Century Plan, and more to come as this plan evolves. Some other updates, technical assistance for local projects. Every year we hold a call for projects in partnership with the Regional Transportation Authority and invite applications for assistance for municipal and county partners. What types of projects are eligible for assistance? ADA transition plans, capital improvement plans, bike and ped plans, local safety action plans, and more. And this spring, applicants from all 7 counties submitted requests for the technical assistance program, and we'll announce those recipients next week. We'll share the announcement with you. This is an exciting time for CMAP as we look forward to kicking off these projects with communities over the next year. Community data snapshots. Someone mentioned this in her intro. These are, this data is the most used data that CMAP produces. And so it's incredibly valuable to communities. I've worked at the county and city levels before coming to CMAP, and we relied on this data to inform decision making. So I do encourage you to check it out if you're not familiar with it. We compile these data snapshots for each of the regions, 284 municipalities, and the 77 Chicago community areas, as well as the 7 counties. The community data snapshots also show changes in those data sets over time and in comparison to your county and the region. We'll provide you with a link. And finally, as the agency's Deputy of Communications and Engagement, I would be remiss to invite you to join us and connect with us and stay connected on all the things happening in the region. It is a very exciting time to be at CMAP. As you just heard about the RTP and the Century Plan and the data that we're producing, there's a lot of things going on in the region, and CMAP has our finger on the pulse, if you will, and we are working with our partners to try to solve for this so that we are thriving through the next generation and the next century. So follow us on social media, sign up for our newsletters, and stay engaged. You won't be disappointed, I promise. And I think that's all we have. Any other business, Jane?
We can't hear you, Jane.
Muted. Back to the basics of a committee. We will include this item, other business, on every one of your agendas. And it may be just an opportunity for you to share announcements or news from your organizations. I think, John, you may have an event coming. Is it tomorrow that we shared internally? Did you want to plug that?
Yes, be happy to. So part of that first $5 million activation investment that the city of Chicago has made in the Brownsville Trail project is to develop a framework plan. And I'm assuming that all of you know essentially what that is, an urban planning document. And tomorrow is the first open house for our framework plan engagement. It's going to be held from 5:30 to 7:30 p.m. at Phillips High School, located on the south side of Chicago. I don't have the exact address in front of me. I think it's 244 East 39th Street. And it's going to be held in the gymnasium, which is brand new facility in back of the old high school. Shameless plug, Phillips High School is famous for the players who many made up the original Harlem Globetrotters.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, but Abe Saperstein chose to call them the Harlem Globetrotters rather than the Brownsville Globetrotters. I guess a brilliant marketer, I'm not sure. Anyway, you're all welcome, certainly invited. We intend to have two other open houses, perhaps one in September and maybe one Q1 2027. And that'll set the stage for phase 1 and phase 2 construction. So I'm a novice at this, but I consider myself a fast learner. And we do have the support of every elected official, federal, state, local, county, supporting this project. And we're just very excited that we were able to move this project forward.
Thank you, John, and congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Again, I hope this part of our agenda will be for sharing opportunities, events that we can then cross-pollinate with each other in this committee. So thanks so much, John. Another part of these committee meetings will be, anybody else want to share something that you haven't already in those wonderful introductions? I think about it. All right. Next time then, we'll look forward to it. Another part of these committee meetings will be public comment. As a public agency, a public committee, there'll be an opportunity for public comment. I don't see anybody here who's not already on the committee or CMAP staff, but we will include this in every agenda. And then lastly, we'll be looking at a meeting sometime this fall, but what we'll want to do with you is first figure out what's a time of day, a day of the week that works, that we can maximize your attendance at these meetings. We want to work with your schedules within kind of CMAP's committee constraints. John, you had something.
Yes.
Yes.
There's one more thing I'd like to
please.
share with you about the Bronzeville Trail. And this, I think, often gets left out of the conversation as we talk about, transportation projects and investment infrastructure, environmental concerns, which are, that's why we're here, right? But the other thing about this project is we believe it's going to prove to be the most transformative and catalytic project in the history of Bronzeville. And if you don't know, Bronzeville easily is the most rich, culturally rich Black community in this country. And oftentimes the impact on culture, I think, gets left out of the conversation. So I just want to chime back in to also share with my colleagues on the committee that this is also a very important cultural project, as there are so many landmarks literally within an eighth of a mile, quarter of a mile from the embankment. And one in particular, which is adjacent to the embankment, literally just, that close, is Robert's Temple, which is now a national landmark, run by the National Park Service. So we look forward to that. And the only other one I think in Chicago is Pullman National Landmark. So we're very excited about the impact that Robert's Temple is going to have on the Bronzeville Trail and vice versa.
There is so much history in Bronzeville, so much Chicago history. Thank you, John.
Thank you. Thanks for allowing me to chime back in.
Anyone else with news updates? Great. So between now and whenever we figure out that next meeting, I will make some promises to you. You will get a survey from us to find a optimally convenient date and time for us to meet. We're also, Sam and I are looking at meeting with each one of your organizations or each one of you in July or August before next meeting too, to really learn more about your organizations and fill in any gaps that you're feeling from today's meeting. I promise I will follow up an email, detailed email to you before the end of the week. It'll include everything from all the links that we've already talked about. John, I'll make sure to include the information that you sent earlier about tomorrow's event. And then the slide deck for today, a link to community data snapshots, as Jenny mentioned, and we will also be sending you some announcements over the next month of the couple things that Jenny mentioned, these community data snapshots that I think you'll find kind of interesting for all the community areas and villages and municipalities in northeastern Illinois. And then the invitation to the Joliet event. So I posted the link here in our chat, but I will follow up with more detail about that event in Joliet. Anything else for the good of the order, as they say in these public meetings? Great. Well, we are so glad to have you with us for this ride as part of our Community Advisory Committee. We will be staying in close touch with you over the next couple of months. Look forward to convening again sometime this fall, date to be determined. So thank you so much for spending your time with us this morning. And we look forward to all kinds of feedback from you on how we can make this a high-functioning committee of value to both you and to CMAP. So thank you, thank you. Good to see you all.
Thank you. Have a great rest of your day,
Thank
everybody.
you.
Thank
Great
you.
day, everyone. Have a wonderful
Bye.
day.